everybody. Let's turn the music down. That's about right. Hi everybody, happy holidays. Thank you for joining me. Hi for everybody that is here. Hi for everybody that is gonna see the recording later on. I'm available in the chat if you want to talk to me. That's it. Yeah, so hi, welcome to CSS Capism. We're here to make some fun with CSS. Today we're gonna, well, it's Christmas time, so we're gonna make like a nice little snow globe with a Christmas tree inside with lights and like snowflakes moving around. Yeah, that's it. So let's actually dive into the code and actually just before the stream, I went to Twitter, to X, excuse me, and I saw this animation by Aquila. He made it with Three.js. It's amazing, and I really want to do it with CSS. So maybe this is gonna be in the next live next week. Yeah, I'm calling it. Yeah, but let's close it for now. And we're in CodePen. Actually, let's move to presentation mode so it would be easier. Right, let me do a few things here just to make our screen a bit bigger, like this. Great, we can close this, and yeah, so we're actually starting. Hi Ophelia, hi everybody in the chat. I'm right now I'm looking at the chat, but as I'm coding, I don't know how I'm gonna see it. So we're actually starting at scratch. We have nothing here. We just have an empty div in our HTML called scene. And we don't have JavaScript. Obviously, we're not going to use JavaScript today. In our CSS, all we have here is just a very simple reset, padding 0, margin 0, and box sizing. Thanks, Eric. The body has a background color. Let's make the color black. Maybe later on we'll make it a bit blue. I don't know. Let's make it black for now. We're gonna leave the color. Maybe we're gonna use some text. And what we have here is just things to center everything, to put everything in the center. And we have a perspective of height 100. Let's say 1,000 pixels. For now. Maybe we're gonna play around with it. And I'm saying that everything that is inside the body actually has a preserved 3D. So the perspective point, the vanishing point of the perspective is actually preserved for each one of the child's elements, of the body's child elements. So they're all gonna live in the same space, in the same 3D world. So that's it. That's what we have here on the body. And here we have the scene. Actually, before we're going to start writing any code, let's gonna write what we're going to build today. So this is the scene, obviously. Let's leave the scene alone. And we're going to have a snow globe, obviously. Oops, why am I in here? Snow globe. I'm not going to put anything inside. And actually, before the snow globe in the scene, I want to create a floor because it just looks better. So the snow globe going to have a base. And we're going to have the glass that wraps the snow globe. What we're gonna have a tree. We're gonna build a Christmas tree inside. So we're gonna have a tree, and I don't know if we're gonna do anything to the tree itself, but we're gonna leave it because the tree actually has a trunk. Obviously, it's the trunk of the tree, and it has like these branches or leaves. Let's call it leaves. Okay. And we're gonna add some lights because it's a Christmas tree again. So we're gonna add some lights, and maybe we're gonna add a star on top. I actually made some stars a few years ago. This is from 2 years ago. Yeah, it's weird 3D stars, and I also made like a demo star for what I want to do today because these stars are like way overkill in terms of HTML, but this star is just like 5 elements. So maybe we're gonna get it, and I don't know how much time we're gonna have today. Yeah, so after the star we're gonna have, so this is the tree. All of those things are actually inside of the tree. Huh? Oh. Sorry. There we go. And then we're going to have the flakes, the snowflakes that are going to move around. Okay. And maybe we're going to add some snow in the end, some falling snow. I seriously doubt that we're going to have some time for it, but let's leave it for now. Let's comment it out. Okay, so this is what we're going to build. I'm going to save it. By the way, if you want to follow along, this is the URL. I'm going to copy it to the chat. So you can actually go into live mode and see things as I'm going to do it, as I'm doing it. Yeah. What am I? Okay. Yeah. So let's start with the scene. And as I said, the scene has a position relative, and I want everything in the scene to be positioned absolute relative to that scene. So I'm just going to use this, just going to put position absolute to all of those kids. So I won't need to add position absolute to each one of those. Okay, that's it. Yeah, so this is the scene. Let's start with the floor so we can see something. So the floor is already positioned absolute. So let's add an inset, something big. Let's say 100 EM, and I'm working with EM. So let's see a demo like here in the star. Everything is in EM. So if I want to change the size, all I need to do is change the font size. So if I change the font size to 50, for example, so it's now have the size. Yeah, so it's just easier. So EM is just like a const, like a variable. Okay, so inset, and let's give it a background so we can see it, and we could probably see like this big white square. Why can't we see big white square? Oh, because we didn't add the floor obviously to the scene. Yeah. I do a lot of mistakes during live coding. This is live coding. So if you see me making a mistake, just call me out on it. So yeah, floor, this is the one big, let's see, not, it's Christmas, green. Yeah. So we're going to give it a few things. Let's give it a transform. First thing I want to do is rotate it on the x-axis. I want to fold it down. So rotate x minus 90 degrees. Whoops, minus 90 degrees. So now we can't see it because it's like flat straight in the middle, and the width in the height is 0, or the width, whatever you want to say. So let's add a translate of z, because I want to translate on the z-axis. Let's say something like 15 EMs, because I want the glass to be something like 30 EMs each side. So this is our floor. We can see the horizon, but we want to make it look more like a floor. So we're going to add a few things. First of all, let's add a background image. And we're going to add a few background images. So I'm going to add each one in a new line. And the first one, the top one, I'm going to add a radial gradient. And I'm going to add a radial gradient to the closest side, because the farthest side is the farthest point is the farthest is the default. And so because it's a squared, I want to make it a circle. So I'm going to take it to the closest side, and I'm going to start with transparent right here in the middle. And let's go to black. Oops, we don't need it. So now we can see this little circle. That's great. And we also want to add some sort of pattern to the floor, because the floor is going to be moving and we want to see the pattern moving. You can add any pattern you want. I'm going to do a very simple repeating linear gradient. Let's start with white, actually. Let's do it white, and then the white is going to be 0. If you're using repeating gradients, you need to set the 0. So transparent. Oops, transparent, and then back to white. Let's say white is at 2 EMs, okay? So now we have something like that. Okay, you can already see the perspective. You can see that the closest side in the floor is a bit bigger. The farthest side is much smaller. That is the whole concept of perspective, obviously. Hi, John. Feliz Navidad to you too. And I'm going to add another one. But this one, I'm going to make it 90 degrees. So we can have like a crisscross of patterns. And what have I missed? Oops, I mistakenly forgot the N. great. 90 degrees. Yeah, okay. But the white is way too strong. Let's say 2. Yeah, that looks cool. And as I said, things are going to move and rotate around. So let's actually start with this animation. I'm going to add an animation I'm going to call it scene rotate. And I'm going to use a duration. Let's say duration. Sorry, scene rotate duration. Oops, it's supposed to be like this. We can set a custom variable CSS, but it's a const. So let's do a Sass variable. I'm using Sass, not pure CSS, because I'm going to use a lot of loops and things up ahead. Let's use infinite because I want it to run infinitely, to loop over and over, and linear because I want the movement to be constant, to be linear. So let's add the keyframes of scene rotate, and it's very simple. I'm going to say to rotate 1 turn. So now, what have I forgot? Undefined variable. Oh yeah, I didn't define the variable. So let's define it. It's supposed to be very, very slow, something like even a minute, maybe even 2 minutes, something like that. Oh, it's supposed to be rotate on the y-axis. Obviously, I want to rotate it like this. And a lot of people ask me why I wrap things with a scene, everything with a scene. So the concept is I want the camera to move around the scene, but the camera can't move in CSS. The camera is constant. So what I'm doing is I'm rotating the scene. So it looks like the camera is moving around the scene. Yeah, so that's kind of look okay. Actually, it's even faster. It's supposed to move very slow. So let's do 120 seconds. Okay. That looks quite okay for the floor. Let's minimize this. And I'm actually not going to touch the snow globe now, but let's, because the snow globe itself, all it has to do is position absolute, and it's already has position absolute. So let's talk about the base. And so there's a few ways to create the base. I want a round base. If you go to you know what a snow globe looks like. You have a base and you have this round circle on top of it. And there's a few ways you can do the base. I can use layered circles or a few things, but I'm gonna build it like from a lot of divs around, not a lot, 6 divs. So let's create the HTML first. We're gonna say, first we have a snow globe. Yep, and inside we have a base. And inside the base, we're going to create, let's start with one. Let's start with one eye. And if I accidentally going to call it a div, you know I'm meaning this eye, okay? So, yeah, base, okay. We're going to need the eye inside the base. And let's give it an inset so we can see it. Let's say minus 1 EM, for example. Let's give it a background color. It's going to be white so we can see it. Yeah, so this white square, this is our white. This is the eye of this base, okay? And there's a few things, we actually want it to be taller. So I'm actually going to do minus 10 EM and minus 1 EM. So now we have something like, yeah, something like that. Okay, so now I want to do a few things to it. I'm going to add a transform of rotate, just like I did to the floor. I want to add rotate X of 90 degrees, like lay it down. So again, now we can't see it. And I can add a translate Z like I added to the floor, but I want to add a translate right here to the base itself, because there's going to be a few eyes inside the base, so I can give them the translate to the base itself. Transform, translate on the Y-axis because I want to move it down. So I moved the float 15 EMs down, and I want the base height to be 4 EMs, something like that, so just a bit over 10%. So 15 minus 4 is 11 EM. So I'm going to move it down 11 EM. And I forgot this one. Why doesn't it? Come on, CodePen. Yeah, okay. So this is the, sometimes CodePen takes a second to refresh. So this is our eye, okay? This is great. And if I have two eyes, for example, I can say that the second eye, nth child of 2, we're going to give it an RY, a variable. Well, let's give it an angle so we can understand what we're doing, of let's say 30 degrees. So now I can add this here, rotate, var angle or 0. So now the first one is here. Okay, so you can see the two things, but I don't want 2, I actually want 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay, now I have 6. Now I have 6. So I can do the same thing, like I can do so 3, so it would be 60, and so on and so on. Yep. But I think it would be just easier to create a simple loop. So let's say for I from 0 to 6, and just let's move one of them inside of here. And instead of the 2, let's say that it's $I plus 1, and here it's $I times 30 degrees. So now I have, yeah, okay. So now I have this something that looks like a weird Red Hot Chili Peppers logo. Okay, and it's gonna be a base. I know it doesn't look like a base yet, but it's gonna be a base. Let's add some transparent to the color so we can see it. Okay, and what we're gonna add, we need those panels, the side panels, because this is the top of the base, right? So we need the side panels. So let's add a pseudo element, and we're gonna start with the before. We obviously need a black content. And a position absolute, because the position absolute doesn't apply to the pseudo element. Let's give it a width of 100%. I want to be at the same width, and the height of, I said the height would be 4 em because this is the height I want for those panels. Let's give it a background color, so just so we can see it. Let's make it red. And yeah, okay, so we can see those squares. So now what we need to do is actually add a transform. So I actually want to cancel this this rotate. So I'm gonna rotate it on the x-axis 90 degrees because I want it to be flat. But I do need to change the transform origin obviously to the top. Oops. So now I have this. This 6 panels, but I need the other side as well. So no problem. All I need to do is just add an after. And we're actually going to take this after right here and add a top of 100%. So it would be on the other side because the default top is 0. So now I have this top with 6 sides. Let's change the background color to inherit, so it would inherit the top color. Okay, so now we have this something. It's starting to look, but we want the panels to touch each other. And we can adjust it by adjusting the width of this height. So instead of 1, we can change it to 2. And yes, you can use some math to calculate the right value. Or you can just right-click on one of them and go to this here in the DevTools and just play around with this value until you get something that looks okay. I think 2.6 is maybe 2.65. No, put on 2.7, it's okay. Okay, so let's change this one to 2.7. Yeah, okay, so now we have something that looks okay. We do need to change the color. Let's make it red. Or, let's make it a bit darker. Let's make it maroon. Yeah. And, okay, but we have the shape, but we want to see the different panels inside of this shape. So one trick that I love to do, and if you probably see me do it somewhere. So let's do a box shadow of 0.0, let's say 1 em. black, and then add an inset. So it's casting the shadow inside of each one of these panels. Yeah, so we can see it, but that's way too much. Let's make it a 7. Okay, and we want to add, so this is great for the panels, but for the top of this of the base, what we need to do is actually add a background image of, yeah, why doesn't it get, yeah, a radial gradient, and I'm gonna do a circle because the default, the eye right now is very long, so if I'll do just radial gradient, it would be like an ellipse. So I add a circle, and I want to be a transparent at the center, and then this color, or this shadow, this opacity black. Oops, let's add. We don't need this one. Okay, so this is okay, we already see it, but I don't want the shadow to be on all of the top, so I can actually change the transparent to like 80%. So now the transparent would be much bigger. Another thing you can do is, instead of changing the location of the transparent, is changing the midpoint between them. So if I'll add an 80% between them, yeah, so it would look, I'm not changing the 2 points of the gradient, I'm changing the midpoint between them. And if I put the midpoint like maybe even at 90%, it would look better. Yeah, I think it looks okay. Looks like a base. One thing that I do want to add is in the floor, I'm going to add another radial gradient. Let's leave the closest side, okay? Because but I do want to do it the other way around, because I want to start at black and then move to transparent, because I want, yeah, I want to create this shade. But here, let's make the transparent something like 15 EM, maybe. Yeah, okay. So now we have like this shade of the base. Okay. That looks okay. Let's move on to the glass. Okay, so first thing first, let's create this HTML. Hello, people in the chat. I see everybody. Hi. If you have any questions, if I'm moving too fast, if the music is too loud, anything, let me know. The chat is right here. Yeah. So the base. Let's do a glass. Do I need anything inside the glass? No, I don't need anything inside. I do, but never mind. So the glass, let's make it, I said I want to be 30 amps. This is like one of the things I knew, so let's add an inset of minus 15 amps. Minus 15 amps, that means that it's going to go minus 15 amps on each direction. So the total direction, if we do like a background color, you can see the total size is 30 amps on each side. Yeah, so this is our glass, but obviously we're going to need a border radius of 50% because we want it to be round. And let's make, yeah, if we add the white like with a very mild opacity, yeah, it already looks like a glass. But the thing is, let's make this rotation a bit faster. Let's make it 12 seconds. Yeah, so you can see when it rotates, you can see that it's just flat. It's not a glass. What we need to do in order to make our mind think that it's still it's a circle, it's a ball, not just a plain circle, we need to rotate it on the counter direction. So what we need to do, I'm gonna copy this animation from the scene itself. This is the animation of the rotate of the scene. I'm gonna give it to the glass, but I'm gonna add reverse. So now what is happening? Wait a minute, yeah. So now the scene is rotating, but the glass, this round thing, is rotating on the other direction, and so it stays flat, stays just as we see it. Okay, so, but that's okay. It's starting to look nice, but we're gonna add a background, a background image, and I'm gonna do a radial gradient, obviously, but here, so let's start with a simple gradient from transparent because I have like an idea of what I want to do. So let's start with a simple transparent. Okay, to white, but white with some sort of opacity. We're gonna play around with it. So we don't need a background color right now. So yeah, okay, so this is what we have right now. As I said, we can change the hint because I just want the hue to be right in the edges of the glass. So let's make it even a 95%, something like that. And let's make it a bit 5 maybe. Okay, so I do need to set it to the farthest side. So right now, the closest side is the same as the farthest side, obviously. Why don't we see it right now? If I'll make it something like that, 85. Oh, farthest. Yeah, okay. So now let's change it to 85. Okay, so as I said, right now the closest side, because it's a circle, so the closest side and the farthest side is the same thing, but I want to change the center of this circle. And if I'll change the center of the circle, so let's say to 50% is the X in the middle, but I want to move it a bit down. Let's say 55%, maybe a bit more. Okay, so here we can already see that it's much less light in the bottom and much more in the top. Let's make it even 60 degrees. Yeah, okay, that's about what I'm aiming for. And if I wouldn't have used it, the farthest side, so I would just get something like... Why doesn't it refresh? Come on, CodePen. Yeah, okay, so because we will need to change this value to something closest because it's calculated to the farthest point, not the farthest side. So again, let's set it like this so it looks okay. But I do want to add one more thing. I'm going to add another pseudo element. Again, a blank content. Oops, come on. Position absolute. I'm gonna do an inset of a positive inset of 2em. So so now let's see it. Just a second. Let's add a border color. Let's add background color. So now this is this circle right here in the middle. Okay, but I'm actually gonna use a background image. Another radial gradient. Let's do a circle. Oh, it's kind of the same thing, but let's do a circle at 50%, 60%, so it would be 60%. Again, let's do transparent. Let's start with transparent at 65%, and then let's create, but I don't want it to be white, I want it to be a bit yellowish because I want to create like a blur of the light. So let's make it a 7, so it would be like a yellow of 70%. Oh yeah, that's way too much. Actually, before I set it, it was okay. Yeah, that's maybe 85%. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm gonna add a filter to it of blur 1em. Oops. Yeah, let's change this one again. It's just moving too fast in my eyes. Sorry. Yeah, so this is this blur, but this blur is supposed to be on the side, and it's supposed to move to the other side as the scene rotates. Like because the lights come from one side, so as it rotates, the lights come from the other side. So let's add an animation of, let's call it light blur. The duration needs to be the same duration. Again, infinite, because I want to run infinitely. And let's add ease in out, because I want it to ease from side to side. So let's create those keyframes of, oops, I forgot, light blur. So let's say from, actually no, because the 0% and the 100%. So the starting point and the ending point should be the same thing. And it should be something like rotate, let's say minus 45 degrees. Okay, so now this 50%, like this middle point, is plus. And if I haven't mistaken, what have I forgot? Undefined variable. It is defined. Expected number. Oh, this I added an unneeded comma. Okay, so now we can see it. It's here in the middle, and as again, let's make this this duration much faster, so we can see the movement. And so you can see it's one side, and as it moves to the other side, it moves the blur moves to the other side, and then moves back to the. You get this drift, but because this rotation is very slow, you would hardly feel it. But it's just those little things that make a difference for me. So yeah, this is the glass, and I think the glass actually looks kind of nice. Maybe actually even add a bigger. Oh, it's F. Yeah, let's add like a 7 here. Yeah, it's 8. Okay. So now let's move on. Oh, we're already half an hour in, man. Yeah, Alvaro, thank you. Let's move. We have a lot of things to do. Let's move to the trunk, to the tree. So the tree itself doesn't really need anything, but the trunk. Let's add an inset of. So right now, this whole thing, this circle is 30 EMs, and the bottom is 4 EMs. So I can say minus 11 EM. Oops. And let's say minus 1 EM, just so we can see it now. Yeah, so what again did I miss? Unexpected escape sequence? What? Wait a minute, let's inspect this. Something a bit wrong. Oh, obviously, I don't have the HTML for it. How could you expect it? So, tree, and inside of this tree I have a trunk, and not just a trunk, I have leaves and lights. Okay. Now, so now we can see it, but that's way too tall. I want the tree to be in the middle. I want this to be something like 7 EMs, but if this is 7 EMs, yeah. So that means I need to translate, translate on the Y 4 EM. Okay, so the tree trunk would be touching the base. Come on. Yeah, let's change this color to brown, because it's a tree. Okay, so now again we have the same problem as we had with the glass, because the tree is rotating as the scene rotates. So all I need to do right now is just go to the glass, add this, take this animation. I'm gonna add it to the trunk, and now the trunk is gonna stay flat. Great. Another thing I want to add is border radius, and I want to play around with this border radius a bit. So we can add a border radius if we get 50%, so I'm going to have a circle. But I don't want a circle, I just want those two bottoms to be a bit curved. So we can add like 50, let's say 10. So the 50% is on the x-axis, and the 10% is on the y-axis. So actually 10 is too much, let's say 5. So you can see that I have this like little curvature. It's even too much, 5. Let's say even 2, I think. It's going to be enough. Yeah, it's going to be very, very, very mild. Maybe 3. But we do want the trunk to be a bit thinner in the top. Yes, 3 is better. So what we can do is like maybe add like 50% Yeah, 50%, 50%, and then 3%, 3%. So that means that the top left corner is going to be 50%, the top right corner is 50%, then 3 and 3. Maybe even more, maybe even like 90, because why not? We can use it. Okay, so it looks weird, but it's just the trunk and it's going to be covered with leaves, so don't worry about it. But right now I think it's okay. Let's talk about the leaves. And actually, I'm not going to do anything with the leaves itself. I'm actually going to create a lot of leaves. Let's say each leaf is going to be an eye, and let's say 48 leaves. Why not? And if you worry that it's too much element, so we're just getting started. So again, I don't need the leaves. I need the leaves eye, and I'm going to set let's say top 0. You're going to see why in a second. Let's say a width of 80 m. Let's create an aspect. Why doesn't it work? Ratio? Okay, so this square is a leaf, but we don't want. Yeah, okay, it's great. But we don't want a square. I want it to be round on one side, and I want it to be. You're gonna see it in a second. Again, let's do a border radius, and I'm not gonna do 50%. I'm gonna use. So the top left is gonna be 0. The top right is gonna be 0. The bottom right is gonna be 100%, and the top. Then the bottom left is again going to be 0. So I'm going to end up with something like this. Okay. This is the border radius. So now I can just adjust it to the proper corner. And by the way, the reason I set the top here, because if I set the top to something else, so like -3 ems, so that's going to be higher. So because I'm going to set each one of those leaves in a different top. Yeah, I'm not going to animate the top, but I'm going to set it. So let's just create a variable of top 0. And what else do I need here? Okay, let's create actually, that's not white. Green. Again, it's leaves. And let's create background image. And we're going to do a very simple background image of radial gradient. Circle at top left, because this point is the top left corner. We're going to start at black and then move to. Actually, we don't. Let's move to green, and so now we can actually remove this background color. We don't need it. Yeah. So now we have something that looks like this. It's gonna look better once we position them. So let's position them, and I'm gonna position them using transform, and I'm gonna use a few things. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna use is a rotate of X, and let's do 45 degrees, and then a rotate of Z of 45 degrees. So now so now it looks like this. Oh, but obviously I need to change the transform origin to top left. I'm too excited today. I'm sorry. Hi. Yeah, okay, so, okay, are you getting where I'm going? So you can see what one leaf looks like, but we're going to have a lot of leaves in different height, in different sizes. So we're going to add scale, because we need different size to each one of them. And because it's a different size, so let's create a var of scale. The default is going to be 1. Okay, so let's start defining each one of them, because it doesn't look like a tree yet. And again, I'm going to use a very simple loop, just like the loop I've used here inside of the base. I'm actually going to copy it here, but instead of 6, we need 48, because we have 48 elements. And I am going to set an angle, but I'm going to. So this angle. Okay, let's set it here first. Let's say rotate, and I do need to rotate on the y-axis. Var, let's change it to ry, because so we know what we're rotating. And now yeah, so you can see that each one of them is different. Let's actually, before that, let's set the top. And I'm gonna set the top. I want the top one to be like, let's say, minus 5 em. Oops, minus 5 em. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so this is the top one, but for each one, I want to add 0.1 em. Man, it's too small. 0.2 em. Why doesn't it? Oh, 0.2. You don't need the em, obviously. Yeah, okay. It doesn't look like a tree yet. We do need to add the scale, as I said, and I want the smallest scale to be like a quarter, like 0.25. And again, so divide by 48. So now the bottom one is. The top one is 0.25, the top one is 1.25, actually too much. So we can make this number higher, and as the higher we make this number, the smaller the bigger one will be. So if we're going to make it like 480, oh, that's way too much. So they're all going to be very small. That's way too much, as I said. Let's say it like 80. I don't know. That's okay, maybe 75. Okay, so now you can actually see each one of those leaves. You can, and it's like they're spiraling down, but I don't like this spiraling down thing. This is just what we have. So let's actually create random. We can set any random we want, 360 degrees. And I actually don't think that it's gonna be good. Yeah, okay, so it actually looks better. It kind of looks like a tree. But you can actually see through the leaves because the spaces between them are not constant because it's random. Sometimes they're close, sometimes they're far. So what we can do is actually create a variable of angle. It's 0 for start. And then we're going to set this variable for each time. Plus, let's say 60. This is the minimum difference, the minimum angle. And we're going to add a random of 60. So each time it's going to increase by somewhere between 60 and 120. So now we can actually take this angle and use it right here. And it just covers everything better. It's just, I think it looks a bit better. Hi Avi, thank you. Okay, we have leaves. Do I forget something from the leaves? I think it's okay. Let's remove this one. Let's go to the lights. And again, here in the lights, this is the leaves. I'm going to do the same thing. Let's create, we had 48 leaves, so why not create 48 lights? So let's make I times 48, just so we can copy the same loop again. Again, so I don't need the lights, I need the lights I. Excuse me, just a second. Lights I. Okay, so let's see it. So let's do an inset of -1 em background color. And right now you won't see it because it's somewhere inside of the tree, behind all of those leaves. So you won't see it. Just so we can see it, let's do a transform of translate Z. We're gonna move it forward 10 em. Just so we can see it. This square. Why don't we see it? Expect. Tree lights. It's on 0. Oh, it's supposed to be lights, not light. Yeah, okay, this square. That's why, by the way, this is why I do those things. I just want to see it first because I'm getting all of those silly mistakes out of the way right in the beginning. So this is this square. All of those lights are right here right now. Obviously, it's supposed to be smaller. Let's make it 0.5, maybe even 0.4. It's gonna have a border radius of 50% because I want to be round. We're gonna play around with the colors and hue in a second. But let's position them. And there's a few things we need to position them. Again, first of all, we need to set them on the y-axis, and we can't use the top here because we use the inset. Maybe we won't use the inset. No, okay, we're just gonna translate it on the y-axis instead, and then we're gonna do a random on the rotate, and then we're gonna push it forward just like we pushed this one. But again, we're gonna need to push each one of them differently according to the height that it's in, because the higher it is, you need to push it less outside. So let's actually copy the loop from the leaves, because we're gonna use pretty much the same concept. Yeah, only we don't need any of this. Yeah, so first of all, let's handle the translate y. So translate y, var ty, and as I said, we also need to add a rotation. Excuse me, a rotation on the y-axis. So that's going to be var ry, and the last thing is going to be a translate. Last thing is going to be a translate on the z-axis. We're going to push it forward, var translate z. Okay, so let's set it. So the translate y, the top list is at -5%, but here let's say -4, and then we're gonna add let's say times 25 em. Okay, and you know, let's set this so we can see it. Let's say 5 em. We're gonna set some default values just so we can see it. And okay, so here we have all of those lights. They're all in different heights. They're good heights. I think it's okay, and they're all pushing forward. So let's actually create this variable now, the tz. So the minimum one, let's say it's gonna be 1 em. So the top one is gonna push out 1 em, and I'm gonna add 0.1 em to each one after that, and what? Oh, times. Okay, so now you can see it, and actually if we're gonna make this move a bit faster, yeah, you can actually already see the curvature, the line that it's in. That's great. I think that's maybe even 0.9, not 0.9, sorry. Yeah, the location is great, but now we need to rotate each one of them differently. So let's add the ry, and we can use the same random value, or we can use this angle, the same concept that we used earlier. So angle degrees, and yeah, now we have light. It's not lights yet, okay? It's just white circles. So let's actually create a hue for each one of them. And the hue, we're going to use just a random of 360. So now we can come here, instead of this white, let's make an HSL of var hue, and then let's say 150, because 100 is the saturation and 50% is the lighting. And now we have, yeah, okay, different lights. Looks okay, but you can see again, once we rotate it, you can see from the side that it's not a circle, it's not a light. Actually, let's create also, make it more look like a light. Let's create a background image of radial gradient, circle at top, from transparent, because the lights come from the top, from transparent to something like black. Maybe I'm gonna add just, oh, okay, so it looks a bit better, looks like we have a bit more depth. I'm gonna add a box shadow of white, because they're lights, so it's like, maybe that's too much. Yeah, 0.5 and make it 7. Yeah, okay, so it looks better, but it's still, when you look at it from the side, it still looks like it's flat. And we want to do the same trick that we did for the glass. We want to make it face the same direction. But here's the thing: I can't take, if I'll take this, like what I did here in the trunk, this animation, and I'm going to add it to the lights. It's not going to work because, yeah. You see, because the rotation happens before this transform, and because it happens before this transform, so the lights just stay put, and we don't want them to stay put. We want them to rotate. So we're gonna do a different animation. Instead of scene rotate, let's call it light rotate. Okay, and let's create the keyframes for this. Keyframes, light rotate. So, oops, the from is like this transform, right? But we're gonna add in the end the rotate Y of 360 degrees. Okay. No, so it's supposed to be from 0 to 360 degrees. Okay? So that's kind of gonna work, but not exactly, because you can still see some of them it's not look okay, because I'm not just supposed to compensate the rotation of the scene. I need to compensate for this rotation as well, of the rotate Y. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a calc of var, let's say this one, yeah, minus var ry. And if I haven't if I didn't made any more mistakes, oh yeah, I don't need this one. I think this is okay. Yeah, okay, so now all of those circles looks like a circle. I do need to add to the body itself an overflow of hidden, just because I don't want the scroll bars anywhere, anytime. So now, okay, so now you can see all of those circles, and they look like circles, they look like lightning bolts. Great, we have a Christmas tree and we have a snow globe, but we don't have any snowflakes. Yeah, so this is what we're gonna add now. Do I forgot anything in the lights? Excuse me. Looks okay, looks right. Yeah, I'm maybe gonna add the star in the end. 3. Let's talk about the flakes. This is gonna be the main thing, and we're already an hour in. Great. So, the flakes, I'm gonna create a lot of flakes here. Let's go to the HTML. Flakes, first of all, and I'm gonna do I times, let's say 256. I don't know why. It looks like more than enough eyes. Yeah. You can arrange them in one line if you want to, like this. It doesn't really matter. Okay, let's go to the flakes, and again, I'm going to talk about the eyes inside. I'm going to leave the flakes as is right now, and I'm going to talk about the eye, let's say inside of -1 EM. So it's 2 EM on the side, because it goes -1 EM on each direction. Let's see it. Again, I'm just going to do a transform of translate the yeah, okay, so here we have 256 flakes, and the first thing that we need to do is to talk about the resting state, okay? The state where they're resting in the bottom of the snow globe, and then we're going to talk about how to animate them rotating all around, okay? So first thing, let's go to I want the center of the flakes to be in the center, in the bottom, because I want them to flat out. So let's do a transform. Okay, so first thing first, I want to, okay, let's do a translate y of it's 11 em, right? 11 em. So now, yeah, it's on the flat side here, because again this is 15 minus 4, 11 em, and I'm gonna do another rotate on the x-axis. I'm gonna move it down just like I did for the base and the floor, minus 90 degrees. So now, okay, so now the flakes are just flat right here in the center. So instead of translate z, let's do translate y or translate x, just so we can see it. We don't see it. Why don't we see it? Yeah, okay, now we see it. It takes time to re-render. Okay, so we're actually gonna do a few things to this eye. So it's gonna be messy. Stay with me. So let's talk about this eye. So we're gonna. This is the translate, but we also need, instead of this transform, we're gonna do a few things. Let's do a rotate of 0 degrees. We're gonna do it differently, and then transform, not transform, translate of, again, let's say 6 em. Okay, so if I'm going to give each one of them a different transform, a different rotate, and let's take this loop again, and we're not going to use this angle trick, I think. No, we don't need it. We don't need any of this. Let's set this rotate, okay? So the rotate, let's make it random. Should we make it random? Yeah, let's make it random. Random 360 degrees. So now we're going to get like this circle of things. No, why? Oh yeah, so this okay, so what happened here is, because we are using individual transforms, so we first translated it and then rotated it. I can't use this translate. I need to use this translate because the individual transform happens before the transform functions. Okay, so now it should work. So now it's first rotating and then transforming it. Okay, so now we can see that we have like a circle of flakes, but this translate also needs to be translate. Do I translate on the y? Yeah, let's use y. So let's do ty, and I'm gonna use another random. And the random of the CSS only gives you a full number. So if you want to do like less than 1, so do 100 times over 100. So now this is a number between 0 to 1. And we can actually take this 100 plus 100. Yeah. And multiply it by, let's say 8. Okay, because we need EM, obviously. Okay, so now each one of those flakes, that doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Have I missed something? Chat, guys. Trying to. Have I missed something? What have I missed? Transform, translate. Why doesn't it translate? Oh, what? There was a curly braces that was not supposed to be here. Yeah, okay, so now we're starting to get those flakes. This is way too big. Let's make it 0.5. Maybe even less, but for now 0.5. Okay. But looks okay, and I think 8 is a good number, but I have a lot of flakes that are right near the trunk, right near the center, and I don't want it. So instead of 8, let's say times 5 plus 3, or let's say 6 plus 2. So the minimum value is 2, so we won't have any near the trunk. Why doesn't it work? Oh, I have 256 of them, not 48. Yeah, okay. And you can see the circle in the middle, but let's do 5 plus 3. So the circle is going to be a bit bigger. Yeah, that looks okay. So now we have a lot of flakes that right now they're on the floor, but one more thing that I want to do is to change the light. So in the tree lights we changed the hue, but here I want the flakes to be like golden color. So I'm just gonna set the light. So this background color, I'm gonna do an HSL. The hue is gonna be 50, maybe 55. Let's say 55. The saturation 100%. We don't need this comma. And then here var light. So this light is supposed to be, because if instead of light, if I do like 70%, like 70%, I'll get something very gold type color, and obviously 100% would give me white because it's 100% light. So I want something in the middle. So I'm gonna set the light to anywhere from 70 to random 30. So it's somewhere between 70 and 100. And if I haven't done any mistakes, I have obviously. Oh, percent. I need a percent here. To tune. Come on. Come on, CodePen. Yeah, okay. That looks great. Now, let's talk about movement. So the first thing that I'm not going to move it like a snow globe all around. I want you to swivel around like there's a wind inside, like a hurricane inside. And there's a few things I want to do. 3 animation actually I need to use. One of the y-axis, or this translation, I need it to be right in the center because I want each one of those flakes to be relative to the center of the sphere. And then I need to rotate them, obviously, on this y-axis way faster than this rotation, which is also way faster than it should be. Yeah, so the rotation should be much faster, and each one of them need an angle on the x-axis to set different position, different. We're gonna use different, translate different angles, and we're gonna rotate everything that we can. So let's add an animation. Actually, let's start with this because this is the first one, and I'm gonna use another duration here. This duration is of the flakes duration. Let's call it FL duration, and this should be much faster. Let's say 16 seconds. And we're gonna do it. We're gonna add some user interaction later on. Yeah, okay, here. Here in the flakes, let's add an animation. This was the whole purpose. Let's call it flakes, because this is the flakes, and we're gonna use this duration as the duration. And for now, we're gonna do infinite. As I said, I'm gonna use user interaction to restart this animation in a second, but now let's do is in out. This is the animation, the timing function, and let's set the keyframes. Keyframes, flakes. So actually, let's say the 0%. We're gonna play around with it. So the 0% and the 100%, the starting point and the ending point. This is it. Okay. So maybe we don't use it, but okay. So somewhere in the middle, let's say 50%. I want this to be at 0. So now it moves up, and then we need to change everything while actually it's not supposed to be 50, it's supposed to move up way faster, let's say something like 25%, and just stay there until say like 60% and then move back to 100. So now it moves up, it rotates, and then slowly after a few seconds starts to move down. This is the basic concept. I'm not sure. Let's set it to 50 and 25. We can play around with these values later on. But okay, now we need to start dealing with the eye itself. This is okay for the flakes, but let's add an animation. let's actually copy it. Instead of flakes, we need flake. And actually, we're going to use a few animations for the flake. We're going to use one for the rotate and one for the transform. So let's start with the transform. It's more interesting. Transform. Let's move it. So the keyframes for the flake transforms. So it's supposed to be the same keyframes as the flake, supposed to match the keyframes of the flake. So 0%, 100%, it's this transform, right? And then 25 and 50, we need to change a whole lot of things. So the first thing that we need to change is this translate. Should I change the translate? Actually, let's play around with the rotate. Oops. Should I change the rotate here? I really think where should I? Yeah, okay. Let's start with the rotate actually. So let's make a rotate Y and 0 degrees. So let's say that here it's going to be 30 degrees. If it's going to be 30 degrees, so you can see that while it moves up, it actually folds. Oh, it's not supposed to be Y. It's supposed to be... I think that's supposed to be Y. Why isn't it working? It's supposed to be X. Something is not working as it's supposed to. Why doesn't it rotate? Why doesn't it rotate as I'm supposed to? I'm going to look at my notes just for a second. Rotate by 0 degrees. Why doesn't it? Oh, maybe I need to change. No, I don't need to change the animation. Sorry guys. Any idea why it doesn't move as I need it to move? I'm expecting it to fall down, this entire mushroom to fall down, because I'm rotating it before I translating it. No, let's forget about the rotate for a second. Let's just say, because I'm rotating it on the y-axis, and then I'm translating it on the y, so it's supposed to be okay. And why? Let's don't set this rotate at all. If I don't set this rotate at all, I don't see them. Why? Something is I'm making a mistake somewhere. I know it. Let's make this translate on the x-axis. That would be, yeah, okay, that's what I'm expecting to happen. Okay, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. This translate really need to be on the x-axis. So now we can return this rotate. I'm sorry guys, we're back in business. So this is what I'm expected to see. Yeah, okay, you can see this mushroom because I'm changing them all to 30 degrees, and if I change them to minus, let's say minus 50 degrees, come on. Yeah, it would be something like this. Actually, it's too much. Maybe 40 degrees. Yeah, something like that. And if I go on top, so like it's 80 degrees is going to be the top one. Great, so what I need to do is change this one to RY, because it's rotate Y, and then we're going to set this RY to, again, let's do a random of, I said, so it's minus 45, this is the first one, and let's say 120. So it's from minus 45 to 75. It's gonna look, I think it's gonna look okay. And we're gonna play around with it. And if degrees, okay, obviously degrees. And if I haven't, if I didn't make any mistakes, I made a mistake. This is supposed to be var. Come on, guys. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm after over an hour of live coding. Come on, let's make it a bit faster, because it's really gonna becoming daunting. Yeah, okay, so now we can actually see something exploding. It kind of looks okay, but it's not just the angle. I want to spread more, because of there's like this centrifugal force that pushing them together outside. So instead of this translate, so this is supposed to be TX, obviously TX and TX. My mistake. So let's say TX1 and TX2. So this is 1, and the second one, it's supposed to be much farther. Okay, so instead of 3, let's say like 8. So now, yeah, okay, so now you can actually see that it's like explode outside. Let's say 6. Something like that. Yeah, I think it's okay. Starting to look kind of what I'm imagining. What else do we need? Obviously, to talk about the rotation. So here we have this rotation, but we need the starting point and the ending point. So this is going to be rotate 1, but I'm going to take this random outside, and I'm going to create this variable, this R variable for this random. So this is R1, and the second rotate after the entire thing ended, 2, so it's supposed to be R plus a number of circles. So let's say plus, let's say for a second 5 turn. I'm using turn because I can say just 5 and then times multiply. I can say something like this. Oops. Oh no, 5 times 360 degrees. This would work. It's supposed to work. Oh no, because here we don't have rotate 1. Oh, actually, we done the animation of we didn't finish the animation of the transforms, but yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so this is 1 and the 2. Okay, so let's do the second animation first, and then we're gonna get back to this flake transform animation. Let's copy it. This is supposed to be rotate, and let's create these keyframes of rotate. So this actually, you can use this just very simple. From this is the first one. To rotate 2. Kind of simple. And if I haven't, of course I made some mistake. This is supposed to be a comma, obviously. So it doesn't rotate. Why doesn't it rotate? So it has a first rotate 1 and rotate 2. It has an animation. It doesn't get the keyframes. Keyframes. CodePen, come on, add the keyframes to your autocomplete. Yeah, okay, so it kind of looks something. It's starting to. There's still a lot of work to do. Now let's move it back to 16 because we don't want it to be too overwhelming. Okay, so they're going up. They're starting to rotate. But they're all very fixed. It doesn't look like they're really spawning. So let's go back to this rotation animation, to the keyframes, and I want to add. I want to add a rotate. I'm going to add right in the end. Rotate 3D, and the starting point is going to be 1110 degrees. And I'm not going to talk about the rotate 3D. Takes a matrix of 3 axes and a value and a vector. Excuse me. I'm not really going to talk too much about it. I'm just going to do a very simple rotation degrees. So now you can actually see, yeah. That was weird. That's weird. Ooh, why is it doing that? Whoa, that's weird. That's not what I expected it to do. Why isn't it doing it before the rotation? The rotate X translate you wrote. Oh, that's really not supposed to be here. Oh, come on, it's not supposed to be on the flakes. I'm in the wrong keyframes. It's here. This is the flake transform. Sorry, and I'm like, why is it doing it? Yeah. So now each one of those flakes, I'm animating the flake, not the flakes. Each one of those flakes. So now you can see that it's rotating. It actually stands between the 25 and 55. So we need to break those keyframes. We need to break all of them actually. So this is 0, 100, 25, and 50. So actually what's changing here is just this one. This is supposed to be, let's say, actually let's make it a variable because I want each one of them to change differently. So this is a rotate 3D. But here, it's actually, we're going to add a calc of var r3d times 0.5 because this is the 50%. And yeah. And if we're going to take this calc right here, and this is 25, because this is 25%. If it was different, if it was like 35, so it was be 0.35. Yeah, and obviously this we need to set this variable right here. We need something like, it's cool, thanks, cooking time. Oops, we're going to need a random of, let's say, 8, we're gonna say 8 plus 8 turns. And I think, if I haven't messed anything up, of course I messed something up. Unexpected. No, it's okay. Come on, CodePen. I think CodePen has crashed on me. Have I missed anything? Let's comment this this line out. Maybe something has changed. Okay, what have I done wrong in this? Oh, obviously I forgot. Yeah, so it's not CodePen's fault. I'm sorry, it's my fault. Yeah, okay, now they're rotating. No. They are rotating, but oh, this is supposed to be okay. So the rotate Y, it's okay, and this is supposed to be 1, and this is supposed to be, oh, wait. No, no, it's not. Why doesn't it rotate? Come on, guys. What am I missing? Oh yeah, okay. So I misplaced the braces. Supposed to be better now. Let's. Yeah, so I had a mistake here. Okay, now it looks much better. Each one of those flakes fly individually. It already looks much better. I can actually make the flakes even a bit smaller. Maybe not 25. Maybe like yeah, I don't know, that's too small. Maybe like 33, 35. One thing that I am like kind of bummed about. So this is is in out. So this is the timing function, but here between those two keyframes, the only thing that changed is this the rotate 3D, and I don't want this change to be easy in out. I actually want it to be constant, so I want it to be linear. So I'm just going to add an animation timing function of linear here. It's just those small thing. I'm not sure that most people even gonna notice it, but just let's see it. Yeah, that's already looks great. I'm not sure that I've missed. I have this, I have that. I think I'm okay. Yeah, I think I've done everything I've written to myself, but I want to add user interaction, because right now it's moving and it's great, and when it lays down, I want it to stop, and I want it to restart when the user clicks on this snow globe. So how do we do it? Yes. So let's come here to the. I'm gonna take my notes again. So I won't be mistaken. Okay. So first of all, we want to do two things. We want to let the user know that it's possible to click on the globe, and then we need to reactivate. Okay. So first thing we need to do is let's get rid of all the infinite things that we have. Not the glass. The glass we need it to be infinite. Let's clean the code a bit. We don't not talk about the glass or the base. Not the tree. Okay, so we don't need this infinite, and we don't need this infinite, and we don't need this infinite. Okay, so now let's make it a bit faster, way faster. Let's say 1 second, because we're going to restart it a lot. So now it starts, yeah, and it moves. Okay, so first thing, it's why is it gone to the beginning? I do have this one here. Oh, this is supposed to be ty1. Oh, it's supposed to be tx, right? I was mistaken. It's supposed to be translate x1. Okay, so it stops. This is okay, and now when we click on it, we want it to restart. So first, let's go to the snow globe. Let's add a cursor of pointer, because we want people to know that you can click on it. Yep, okay, it's pointer. And then we're gonna say, oops, here, we're gonna say that if it's active means when I click on the snow globe, I'm gonna set an animation variable to none. So now I can actually take this animation variable right here to these flakes, and I'm gonna set var animation or flakes. What it means, it's that the normal is that the flake is running, but when I click on the globe, the animation variable is set to none, so the animation is none. So right now it started and it's ended, and when I click on it, right now it's none. So but when I leave, it starts again. But right now I just restarted this animation. We need to add this to this animation as well and this animation as well. Let's close this. Okay. And now it started, it's ended, and when I click on it, it's gonna start again. That's great. But I also want to add a text. I'm gonna edit the text in the snow globe. Is it in the snow globe? Yeah, let's edit inside of the snow globe because I'm clicking on the snow globe. So let's set a text, and let's set an I with click to restart. Okay, so now we have this text that we don't see it right now. Why don't we see it? Is it hiding? Yeah, it's very small. Okay, so let's start. Let's go to the CSS. We're gonna put it, yeah, right here. Yeah, let's do a text. Let's do a font size of 3M because I want to be big. The width, I want to be in one line, so let's make the width max content. Actually, you know what? This is not supposed to be the text. This is supposed to be the I inside the text because the text itself, here's the thing, the text itself, it's also rotating. So first thing we need to do is let's add the top like minus 20 ems because I want to be way up above this this thing, and then we're gonna add the same thing that we add to the glass, the same animation to co-rotate the animation of the scene. So now it's straight, great. We can use a translate of minus 50% just so we can translate to the middle. Come on, yeah, okay, this is great. And the last thing that we need to do is add a basic animation right here of inside of this text because when it moves, I don't want to see the text, obviously. So let's copy this animation here. Instead, let's write text. Is in, out is okay. Let's set the keyframes. And actually, the keyframes is very simple because the keyframes, yeah, let's say, actually, you know, okay, I had a different idea, but it's okay. So let's set keyframes of text. So the 0% and the 100%, the starting and ending point is obviously the opacity. The opacity is 1, and very fast after it starts, something like 10%, and then 90%, the opacity is 0. And if I haven't done anything wrong, yeah, so now it's okay to start. Yeah, okay. So now when we start, when the animation is not working, so it's we can see it, and when animation is working, you can't see it, and then again. But we're missing something. It works great because it's very fast, but let's move it back to 16 seconds for a second. And here's the bad thing about using active, because every time I click on it, it would restart. And I don't want it. When it moves, I don't want the ability to click on it to restart. So how do we do it? No problem. We're gonna add another animation to the snow globe itself. Okay, we're gonna call the animation do I move to the snow globe? Yep, let's add it to the snow globe itself. It's this duration. It doesn't really need easing out because it doesn't really matter. And oops, the keyframes for the snow globe, the 0% and the 100% and everything in between, we're going to add a pointer event of none. So now, what have I done wrong? Nothing. Yeah. So now it starts, no problem. Actually, the 10 is supposed to be way faster. Let's say 3, 2, 95. Okay, so now the animation starts. It runs, it rotates, no problem. And when it ends, and right now when I click on it, nothing happens because right now the animation of this pointer event 9 is working, and only after the animation stops and the text is here, now we can click on it and it would restart. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I wanted to do. Maybe, yeah, let's make the background a bit more bluish, just slightly. I don't know why. Yeah. Yeah, and here we have it. I think it's a snow globe with lights and everything. This, if you want these rotations to be faster, you can set it like something like this. Just, yeah, I think it's better. You can play around with it if you build it your own, make it your own, play around, do whatever you want with it. I think it's kind of nice, and this is a snow globe. That's it. Any questions, guys, in the chat? Any questions? Have I missed something in the chat? I don't think I missed something. Great. So, guys, thanks for having me. It was a bit longer than we expected. Full on hour and a half of live coding, but it was great, and I really like. Oops. Yep, and I really like this end result of this snow globe. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas if you're celebrating it. Make snowmen if you are in a place that you have snow. We don't have snowmen. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you for joining me, and I hope I see you in the next live. As you've seen the beginning, you know what the next live is gonna be. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys. Bye for now.